Listen closely, because when Senator Elizabeth Warren walked onto the Senate floor today, she was not there to debate. She was there to object. And before she said those two words, she read a list that some of the most powerful corporations in America did not want entering the public record.
Remember, Trump's ballroom has already become a tool for what looks like corruption in plain sight. Since day one, giant corporations have lined up to dump millions of dollars into Trump's ballroom. And that includes Meta, Apple, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Comcast, Coinbase, and Palantir. And those are just the people and the entities that we know of. Others are being kept secret from the American people because Donald Trump has let them stay anonymous.
To understand why that list matters, you need to understand what was actually being voted on today and how close it came to passing without a single recorded vote. This was a unanimous consent request. The Senate's procedural fast lane. No debate required, no roll call, no committee hearing. Senator Rand Paul from Kentucky had a bill at the desk and was asking the entire chamber to pass it in 60 seconds. One senator objecting is all it takes to stop it. Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts reserved her right to object. Before she said the word, she made certain the record reflected why.
The most recent assassination attempt makes approval of a secure White House addition more urgent. The National Planning Commission, of which I'm a member, voted 8-1 to approve the White House addition. Lawfare, though, is currently delaying the construction. It's clear that the threats of violence against our president are not going away. They keep getting worse. So to prevent further delay, Congress should authorize the White House ballroom and get it on a path to completion. Let's get it built. I'm very glad that this latest assassination attempt was stopped, but it's concerning that the would-be assassin got so close and that these types of threats are growing more frequent. The fact I even have to qualify remarks to specifically say I'm talking about the latest assassination attempt rather than the one before it or the one before that should make us all think clearly and how seriously we need to be taking this. So we do need to improve security for the president. And one solution is already right in front of us. The most significant thing we can do, something that will make the biggest improvement in security, is have a secure event space in the White House ballroom project. Its designs are complete. The project has already broken ground. Funding has already been secured from private donors, not taxpayers. My proposal today doesn't involve any tax money. Congress doesn't need to reinvent the wheel here. I have a straightforward bill, which I will move to pass in a moment, to give this project clear legal authority to proceed. By passing my bill, we can help build the ballroom with no more legal delays, no more bureaucratic delays, improved reporting and progress updates from Congress, and no added cost to taxpayers. I support the building of the ballroom, and the Senate can do something right now to make it happen. Let's do the right thing without delay. Let's formalize and authorize the White House ballroom.
3 pillars: security, completion, private money. Paul built his case on all 3 simultaneously, and they were designed to be inseparable. Challenging the ballroom means challenging presidential security. Questioning the donors means questioning a project that is already funded, already designed, already underway. But pull on that thread and it gets worse. Paul named no donors. He disclosed no corporate affiliations. He asked Congress to grant legal authority to a construction project on federal property financed entirely by funders he left unnamed. Senator Warren had already named 8 of them.
Senator of Massachusetts.
Thank you, Mr. President. Reserving the right to object, Donald Trump promised to lower costs on day one. Well, today is day 464 of Donald Trump's presidency, and we are in a full-blown affordability crisis. We are 2 months into Trump's illegal war with Iran, a war that, according to experts, is costing taxpayers over $1 billion a day. American families are getting flattened by rising costs on just about everything, from groceries to rent to gas. Just today, gas prices hit a new high since Trump started his war. People are stretching themselves to the brink just to pay their bills. But what is the biggest issue of the day, according to Republicans in Congress? Fast-tracking Donald Trump's gold-encrusted ballroom.
Day 464. Warren did not open with a legislative counter-argument. She opened with a ledger. That number is precise and it is deliberate. Trump ran on lowering costs on day one. Warren was not measuring this administration against an abstract standard. She was measuring it against the specific mandate it was elected on. Alongside that number, she placed $1 billion per day, the estimated cost of an active war running simultaneously while a unanimous consent request for a ballroom waited at the Senate desk. That is the interrogation she was setting up, and she was not finished with it.
Now, another recent Republican plan would send $400 million to the White House, I guess to buy more gold leaf and onyx marble for the wannabe king. But I want to be clear. It is common sense that we can, of course, protect the president without shoveling millions of dollars into Trump's ballroom in the middle of an affordability crisis. This bill to rubber stamp Trump's latest vanity project is a giant slap in the face to American families, just plain and simple. Americans are selling their plasma to pay for groceries and gas. Think about that. Americans right now today are selling their blood just to pay their bills. And what's the Republican solution? Dump more money into Donald Trump's gold-encrusted vanity project. And let's do it on a fast track because it's that urgent. Well, here are a few other ideas for things we could fast track to actually help the American people. We could reverse Trump's and the Republicans' giant health care cuts that kicked millions of Americans off their health insurance and jacked up insurance premiums for millions more. Or we could deliver affordable childcare for every American family. Or we could undo Republicans' cuts to food assistance for families. Or we could put a stop to Trump's across-the-board tariffs. Or we could end Donald Trump's war with Iran. And look, the list goes on and on, but nowhere on the list of ways to lower costs for American families is rubber stamping Donald Trump's lavish ballroom.
The plasma line is not rhetorical decoration. Plasma donation is legal, it is compensated, and participation rises in measurable, documented ways during periods of acute financial stress. Warren placed that specific image, Americans selling blood to pay bills, directly beside gold leaf and onyx marble. The contrast is the entire argument. The list she delivered afterward was a deliberate procedural inversion. Every item on it, healthcare, childcare, food assistance, tariffs, the war itself, represents a crisis that has not received the Senate's unanimous consent urgency. She was using the fast lane against itself, showing exactly what it had chosen not to carry. And then she returned to the money and asked the question Paul had not answered.
So what do they have to hide? And what are all these donors expecting in return? And, by the way, if Congress bankrolls this ballroom for Trump's corporate donors, like other Republicans are proposing, what happens to all, excuse me, what happens to all those private donations? Excuse me. Mr. President. So, by the way, I want to make that point again. If Congress bankrolls this ballroom for Trump's corporate donors, like the other Republicans are proposing, what happens to all those private donations? If Trump is using his ballroom to facilitate a giant pay-to-play scheme, then the American people deserve to know. Instead of dumping even more money into Trump's golden ballroom, we need to put an end to this corruption and focus on lowering costs for American families. That's what Democrats are laser focused on. Republicans should join us and get it done. I object, Mr. President.
2 words. The bill was dead. But let us break down exactly what those 9 minutes actually produced, because a procedural block and a public record are 2 different things. And what Warren entered into the Senate record today is worth examining with precision. She named 8 corporations: Meta, Apple, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Comcast, Coinbase, Palantir. These are not fringe political donors. These are companies with active material regulatory exposure before the federal government right now, antitrust proceedings, cryptocurrency frameworks being written in real time by executive agencies, defense contracts, FCC licensing, congressional investigations either open or recently concluded. Every company on that list has financial interests the executive branch can directly accelerate or obstruct. And every company on that list donated to the Trump Ballroom. Warren then raised a second money track, a separate Republican proposal to route $400 million in congressional funds directly to the White House. 2 tracks of money, one private, one public. Warren asked what happens to the private donations if Congress also funds the project. She asked it twice. She asked it twice because no one answered. Here is what the record actually shows. The terms under which those private donations were accepted remain incompletely disclosed. Warren stated directly that additional donors have been permitted to remain anonymous. The administration chose not to require disclosure, which means the list she read on the Senate floor may not be complete. The complete list is not public. Senator Paul asked Congress to provide legal authority to a project on federal property. Senator Warren asked Congress to first account for who is paying for it and what those funders expect in return. The Senate, as of today, did neither. No vote was taken. No disclosure was required. No investigation was opened. The bill went nowhere. The donations did not. There is one word that ran through every exchange on that floor today, and it deserves a moment before this ends. Fast track. Paul used it to describe what Congress could do for presidential security. Warren used it to describe what Congress has repeatedly chosen not to do for health care coverage, for child care, for food assistance, for the families currently selling plasma to pay for groceries. Fast track is a procedural term, neutral on its face, but today it became a public, time-stamped declaration of institutional priority, a measure of which emergencies receive the Senate's urgency and which receive a list of alternatives that never reaches the floor. America has run this argument before. Not with ballrooms, but with the same foundational question at its center. Who decides what is urgent? Who waits? And what the gap between those two answers reveals about who the institution is actually serving. Senator Warren's objection will not lower gas prices. It will not restore the health care coverage that was cut. It will not end the war. What it produced was a name, 8 names, placed into the Senate record, attached to a specific allegation, connected to a question that remains formally unanswered. That is the stark reality of what unfolded in Congress today. Thank you for watching. Drop a comment below. I want to know where you stand on this. If you found this valuable, hit the like button to help more people see it. Subscribe and click the bell icon for more political news, opinions, and analysis.